known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. Its infamous inmates include the Boston Marathon bomber, the Unabomber, and the shoe bomber who tried to bring down a plane.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at those instances where a correctional facility housed multiple inmates with a particularly notable reputation.
His description eludes me, but I have felt powers that are evil.
Edmund Kemper and Herbert Mullin, California Medical Facility, USA. It isn't exactly uncommon for certain dangerous criminals to cross paths while incarcerated at the same prison.
I lived as an ordinary person most of my life, even though I was living a parallel and increasingly sick life, other life.
Edmund Kemper gained nationwide infamy in the United States as the co-ed killer, while the slayings committed by Herbert Mullin were performed, by the killer's own admission, to apparently prevent California earthquakes.
He finally looked at me and he just looked up on the table and he said, "When God speaks to you, you listen."
These two met while incarcerated at a California medical facility in Vacaville, California, where Kemper was serving concurrent life sentences against Mullin's life imprisonment with the possibility of parole. The former reportedly pushed around his smaller counterpart, utilizing what he referred to as a type of behavioral treatment to curb Mullin's habitual chattiness and penchant for singing. Ian Brady and Graham Young, HMP Parkhurst and Park Lane Hospital, UK.
Ian Brady was a petty criminal who grew up in Glasgow, where he's remembered for his cruelty to other children and animals.
This pairing of killers spent time together at not one, but two facilities over the years. Ian Brady, who was responsible for the Moores child killings between 1963 and 65, and Graham Young, aka the teacup poisoner.
Graham Young kept poison close to him at all times.
He was carrying at that time small bottles, vials, with antimony toxin in his top pocket. He called it his friend.
HMP Parkhurst Prison and Park Lane Hospital, later named Ashworth Hospital, would house Brady and Young, who would occasionally play each other in chess. The history of Nazism also reportedly served as subjects of the pair's conversations during their time together, while Brady was quoted as being fascinated by Young's methodology and modus operandi during his decade-long spree between 1961 and 71.
Although Ian Brady's crimes now belong to another era, they will be recorded as among the most infamous ever seen in Britain.
Jean-Paul Gerbet and Carla Homolka, Saint-Anne-des-Plaines Penitentiary, Quebec. Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka were known as the Ken and Barbie Killers, a moniker that referred to the couple's smiling, healthy good looks, appearances which disguised their brutal crimes.
It was like, the Barbie and Ken couple. They seemed like the ideal relationship.
But they were far from a match made in heaven.
Homolka was released from prison back in 2005 in exchange for testimony that helped convict her husband of first-degree murder and 2 cases of aggravated sexual assault.
She would serve just 12 years for her part in the crimes, whilst Paul Bernardo will spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Yet, it was during Homolka's time at Saint-Anne-des-Plaines Penitentiary, Quebec, where she met fellow killer Jean-Paul Gerbet. The pair struck up a relationship while the latter was volunteering in the prison library, one that made headlines during parole hearings for both individuals. David Berkowitz and Gary Evans, Sing Sing Correctional Facility and Clinton Correctional Facility, USA.
By the end of his life, serial killer Gary Evans' rap sheet was more than 11 feet long, packed with every imaginable felony from burglary to arson to murder.
The son of Sam, David Berkowitz may retain a more infamous reputation than the Capital District serial killer, Gary Evans, but that didn't seem to influence the pair's friendship.
David Berkowitz's reign of terror spanned 13 months. He used a .44 caliber handgun to shoot innocent people in 3 of the city's 5 boroughs.
Berkowitz and Evans first met while serving time in the maximum security Sing Sing prison, where they lifted weights in the yard and exchanged letters while isolated in solitary confinement. Some reports also claim that Evans and Berkowitz continued their cordial relationship after a move to the Clinton Correctional Facility, while others claim that Evans eventually distanced himself from the berserk .44 caliber killer. Gary Evans would eventually perish during a botched escape attempt in 1998 after jumping into the Hudson River.
Told me more than once, I'm not going to live my life in a cage, in prison for the rest of my life.
Charles Manson and Edmund Kemper, California Medical Facility, USA.
24-year-old, 6'9" Edmund Kemper unexpectedly confessed that he was the infamous co-ed butcher, and that he now had a tally of 10 murder victims to his name.
Charles Manson's death made headlines back in 2017, while the aforementioned Edmund Kemper is still incarcerated at the time of this writing. The crimes of both still exist among the United States' most chilling criminal cases, yet it's unclear how much was discussed of their respective legacies.
Is Charlie Manson crazy?
Well, whatever that means. Sure, he's crazy as mad as a hatter.
During their time spent together at California medical facility, Kemper's reputation as an intelligent and eloquent model prisoner was juxtaposed against Manson's notorious difficulty behind bars and penchant for buzzworthy, chaotic quotes. The co-ed killer has spoken about this close proximity to Manson over the years, but the word friendship probably shouldn't be the one used to describe their relationship.
Classic sociopath. He feels no guilt. It's all about him. No compassion whatsoever.
Ted Bundy, Gerald Stano, and Ottis Toole. Florida State Prison, USA. Florida State Prison is another facility that's housed some of history's worst criminals over the years. Despicable creatures such as murderer Ottis Toole, serial killer Gerald Stano, and the infamous Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy killed more people in more states than anyone we've ever heard of.
All three came into contact with each other during their time at FSP, which was once known as Ryford Prison. Stano and Bundy had reportedly spent some time together during their incarceration, prior to both of them being executed for their crimes.
Ted Bundy was executed by electric chair in Florida on January 24, 1989, at age 42, taking his secrets with him about the full and true extent of his reign of terror.
Toole, meanwhile, was allegedly jailed in a cell close to Bundy, although it's less clear how much, if any, contact they had during this time. Rodney Alcala and Richard Ramirez, San Quentin Rehabilitation Center, USA.
It may be the creepiest episode ever on The Dating Game, because this bachelor looking for love back in 1978 is actually a serial killer.
The dating game killer, Rodney Alcala, and the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, didn't serve the lion's share of their prison sentences. Alcala was primarily confined to the California State Prison in Corcoran, yet he also spent brief periods of time at San Quentin Rehabilitation Center.
This creep comes up and he puts his face practically in my face and he says, "I always get the girl." When I think about what he said, "I always get my girl," he kills him.
It was here where Ramirez was being held on death row, and where the pair eventually served at the same time.
As far as Satan is concerned, I believe in a malevolent being. His description eludes me, but I have felt powers that are evil.
Both died on death row and in hospitals, with the Night Stalker perishing from complications secondary to B-cell lymphoma at Marin General Hospital, and Rodney Alcala suffering a heart attack in Kings County in 2021. Robert Stroud and George Machine Gun Kelly, Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary, USA.
One story that was spread was that Machine Gun Kelly was so good with a machine gun, he could actually write his name on a wall.
They were two of the criminal world's most well-known nicknames. Robert Stroud, also known as the Birdman of Alcatraz, and George Machine Gun Kelly. The pair served at the Federal Correctional Institute at Leavenworth, before their paths eventually crossed on Alcatraz Island. It was here where Stroud and Kelly first came into contact with one another, with the former having already earned his Birdman moniker prior to being moved to the Rock.
Stroud becomes an expert on birds and writes a book titled Diseases of Canaries.
He's become a world-renowned ornithologist.
Kelly, meanwhile, was seen as a braggart by many of his peers at Alcatraz, earning the nickname of Pop Gun Kelly on account of prison perception of his boastfulness. William Bonin, Lawrence Bittaker, Randy Kraft, and Douglas Clark, San Quentin Rehabilitation Center, USA. We've already mentioned San Quentin's death row, a place that basically speaks for itself with regards to the kinds of individuals housed within its walls. Heavy-duty criminal names such as William Bonin, Lawrence Bittaker, Randy Kraft, and Douglas Clark, all of whom spent time together while serving their sentences at San Quentin. They reportedly played cards together, passing the time and partnering up in duos against each other on a regular basis. Bittaker died at San Quentin in 2019, while William Bonin was executed via lethal injection in 1996.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Timothy McVeigh, Ted Kaczynski, and Ramzi Youssef, United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, aka ADX Florence.
Known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies.
They were housed at Unit D of United States Penitentiary, Administrative Maximum Facility, otherwise known as ADX Florence, a place that was eventually referred to as Bombers Row, thanks to a trio of infamously explosive terrorists, Timothy McVeigh, Ted Kaczynski, and Ramzi Youssef. They worked out together and spoke often, exchanging letters and discussing their cruel and vicious criminal histories. Ramzi Youssef continues serving time for his role in orchestrating the 1993 World Trade Center bombings. Timothy McVeigh was executed via lethal injection in 2001.
In the summer of 1997, McVeigh was tried and convicted on 11 different counts and sentenced to death.
The Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, committed an act of self-destruction in his cell on June 10, 2023. Why do we obsess over true crime and serial killers? Let us know your theories on the appeal in the comments.